Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Team Rise or Fall to talk about the NFC Championship game. The 49ers head to LA SoFi Stadium to take on Stafford and the Rams. This one is going to be good. Hang tight and let's comb through it. Hey, and we are back once again. Thank you for being here. I am Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Team Rise or Fall to talk about the NFC Championship game on Sunday. The San Francisco 49ers head to LA, so beautiful SoFi Stadium, to take on Stafford and the Rams in this one. It's going to be unbelievably good. Before we get into all that stuff, my plays and the bets and all that, make sure you go to Team Rise or Fall. Like, share, subscribe, but use promo code FLASH50. You're going to get 50% off your first month of premium services here. And again, while this video is free, the AFC Championship video is free here. They've added some premium Discord channels here where we're talking about lineup building, lineup construction an hour before lock with basketball, with hockey, with football, on Sunday here. And again, MLB is right around the corner. So join now, use Flash50 as the promo code. Okay, let's talk about this game here. As I said, 49ers head to LA, blah, blah. We know about that. We've heard it a million times. I probably said it enough already in this video to never be mentioned again. But I will say this, the San Francisco 49ers, they're getting 3.5 points in this one. And again, look, 3 points is 3 points. It's that stinking half a point that's throwing me into a tizzy, because I'll give you my final score at the end of the game. Wouldn't want to bury the lead here, but I'm telling you that half a point hangs large here in my eyes. Let's talk about the players, and I'll get you the heck out of here. Matthew Stafford, the Rams starting quarterback, finally in an NFC Championship game, albeit not for the Lions, which I would have liked to see, but hey, he's in an NFC Championship game against the 49ers, who are ninth overall against opposing quarterbacks here. Stafford 16-5 on FanDuel, 10,800 bucks on Draftkings. Stafford, one thing that's surprising, maybe I should have mentioned that at the beginning of the video here. Kansas City playing. I mean, these teams, after last weekend, we've been led to believe all games are going to be magical. All games are going to be like 75-74. I'm telling you now, deep here in everything that I've done, I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. We're not going to see 4 touchdown passes from Stafford. We're not going to see 3 or, more touchdowns, whatever, from Jimmy Garoppolo, although I don't think he's thrown a touchdown through the length of this playoffs, but that doesn't matter. Debo Samuel has sent out a tweet. Hear a lot of you talking bad about my quarterback, Jimmy G. Check his win percentage. That's all that matters. I'll wait. And that's what he said, and rightfully so. Jimmy Garoppolo has been playing at a high level of, without throwing touchdown passes. But I let me go back to Stafford, see what happens. I get all a buzz here and I freak out. So Stafford, 23 completions, looking at about 260 passing yards. Takes the ball, for 5-8 yards on 2-3 carries here. But I do think Stafford throws for multiple touchdowns here. 2 exactly. Does he find one on the ground with his legs? We know his propensity to do that in big spots here. Quarterback sneaks on the goal line here. I wouldn't count on it, but I wouldn't, just completely dismiss that here. When we get to Jimmy Garoppolo, I know me personally, I've been on this kick this whole week about building 150 lines, from scratch, hand building them. And look, of course, Matthew Stafford stacking in a ton of them, Patrick, of course, and when you look at it from this perspective, Jimmy G needs to be respected. We need to pay attention to Jimmy Garoppolo on Sunday here. I'm telling you now, big players, they shine brightest in big spots here. Hopefully that same thing carries over for Stafford. But there's something going on, and maybe it's in my mind. I'm trying to get it out to you here. There's something that's going to happen with Jimmy Garoppolo in this game that I just can't put my finger on. Is this guy in the least unexpected spot? Is he going to shine like MVP type thing and throw for 3 touchdowns here, run for 1? I don't know, just carry the San Francisco 49ers team to the Super Bowl. So, in turn, in our DFS formats, I'm going to respect the heck out of Jimmy G, and I'm going to have him stacked in multiple lineups. In terms of a single game, the Rams first overall against opposing quarterbacks here. So on paper, it looks grim for Jimmy G, but we all know what Andy Reid said. I won't even rehash it. But Jimmy Garoppolo, 12-5 on FanDuel, $9,000 on DraftKings. I'm thinking like a modest 18, 19 completions, 225, 230 passing yards, and a couple carries, nothing crazy, but probably around the same as Stafford, 5 to 8 yards in this one. And a touchdown pass, finally, right? He gets over the hump in the NFC Championship game. When we talk about the running backs, I love that in a single game. I know I keep getting away from it, talking about the overall slate. This is a single game video. And again, I love the idea of stacking up both Rams running backs, Cam Akers, Sony Michel here in the same lineup. I've been doing it all season. We've had success. I've been talking about it till I've been blue in the face on these videos all season. But to me, of the two, if I had to choose, if you're putting me on the spot here in my video, I would choose Cam Akers. 11 grand on FanDuel, $7,000 on DraftKings. Frisco, very respectable, third overall against opposing running backs here. The San Francisco linebacking core is no joke. Fred Warner is unbelievably talented. He buzzes around the field. And look, Cam Akers, after last week, he had 2 fumbles, that one late in the game. You saw him hanging his head down, but then when Matt Gay made the kick, he was able to breathe a sigh of relief here. Is that in this young kid's head? He missed all season, tore his Achilles. He's been on a tear somewhat in the playoffs here. He's leapfrogged Sony Michel. So again, I would imagine they feed Cam Akers early and often in this one to just see where his head's at. Get over the hump. Take that first hit and keep it moving. Yeah, you fumble, but who cares? We're actually playing right now in the NFC Championship game. Leave all that stuff aside. I have Cam 17, 18 carries, 70, maybe 75 yards in this one, a couple of receptions for about 20 yards. Sony Michel, though, he might be, again, we have to show respect to Jimmy G, and I think we have to also show respect for Sony Michel. Last week, the guy got little to no work, and we were all left going, well, this is what we saw coming. Didn't know it was so early. But to me, Sony Michel, $8 grand on FanDuel, $4,800 on DraftKings. So his pricing on FanDuel, it's kind of in your face. I mean, $8 grand for a guy who saw 1 or 2 carries last week is a little high, but on DraftKings, he's only $4,800 here. So let's use him in the right spots here. And on DraftKings, we're going to use Sony Michel. I have him for, I'm not kidding, around 11 or 10 or 11 carries in this one for a solid 55 to 60 yards, a couple receptions, no more than 10 yards in this one. When we talk about the San Francisco running, I shouldn't say running backs, it's just one guy. It's Eli Mitchell here. The Rams, 11th overall against opposing running backs. Eli Mitchell, 12 grand on FanDuel, $8,200 on DraftKings. And look, the Rams, 11th overall against opposing running backs, if I didn't say that already. But and here's the thing. The Rams defense has been peaking. They peaked and they're playing out of their minds with these pick sixes and with these fumble recoveries and just going nuts. So is last week or the whole entire length of the playoffs for the Rams, and especially last week against Tampa Bay, is that an outlier, right? All these it was like that game was scripted, was it not? All these fumble recoveries and interceptions and pick sixes. Was that like an outlier? Can 2 games be an outlier? I don't know. I'm not an analytics guy. I don't like to argue that stuff. I'm just a DFS guy. But to me, the Rams defense is hungry. They're buzzing around. So I think they're going to create fits for Eli Mitchell. But we know volume is not an issue. I have Eli Mitchell around 18, maybe even getting to like 20 carries in this one as they grind this out. Kind of going into my take here where I think it's low scoring. It's just carries, just clocks, just ticking away. Eli Mitchell, 18, 19 carries, about 80 yards as his floor in this one, and a couple receptions for 10 yards. Do we pay attention to Kyle Juszczyk? I said that last week. Something weird's going to happen. Something's crazy. And literally nothing happened. So Kyle Juszczyk, yeah, he'll probably find the end zone this week when we're not looking. When we talk about the wide receivers, that's where it gets juicy, but, rightfully so. We're talking Cooper Kupp, and Deebo Samuel in this one. Cooper Kupp playing against Frisco, which you've already know. Frisco's 19th overall against opposing wide receivers. Cooper Kupp, $16,000 on FanDuel. He's more than a quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. He's, almost $4,000 more. Cooper Kupp, 16 grand on FanDuel, $12,200 on DraftKings. If you want Cooper in your captain spot on DraftKings, you're going to have to remortgage your house. He's $18,300. It's insane. But look, I have Cooper Kupp, a double-digit targets, 10, 11 targets, 8, maybe 9 receptions, well over 100 yards and a touchdown. I mean, Cooper Kupp is a sure thing. You remember when you're a kid in high school, you're like, hey, I'm going out on a date with this girl, and your friends would go, oh yeah, she's a sure thing, and it never happened. Well, throw those bad memories aside, because I'm telling you right now, Cooper Kupp is a sure thing in this spot here. Odell Beckham, Van Jefferson Jr., which way are we going to go there? Again, a single game slate. I like both of them. I like all three of them. If you remember what I said in the AFC video, why not stack up all three Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers? Let's get wild and stack up all three Rams wide receivers here. Beckham Jr., 10-5 on FanDuel, $8,600 on DraftKings, 7-8 targets, 4-5 receptions, 50-60 yards in this one. I saw a graphic right before this recording here where it was side by side with with Odell Beckham in LA and Odell in Cleveland here. And clearly Odell Beckham was not the problem in Cleveland here. So to me, Odell Beckham, the revitalization, the resurgence continues in this one. Van Jefferson Jr. got a little questionable tag in front of his name. Who cares? It's the NFC Championship game. These guys, kids, will be out on the field here. Van Jefferson Jr., 7-5 on FanDuel, $5,000 on DraftKings. Almost the same kind of workload as Odell Beckham Jr., 6 targets, 4-5 receptions, around 50 yards in this one. Does he get loose? Does he get deep in this one for some sort of long bomb from Stafford? Yeah, anything is possible. So I'm going to plan ahead, and I'm going to stack all three Rams wide receivers. When we look at the San Francisco guys, I mean, it's all about Deebo Samuel, right? Samuel, $14,000 on FanDuel, $10,000 on DraftKings. This guy has been unbelievably, fantastic. He's talented. I know I use those corny adjectives, unbelievable, outstanding here. But if the shoe fits, we're going to wear it. Deebo Samuel, as I said, against the Rams, who are 22nd overall against opposing wide receivers here. Deebo, we're looking at 6-7 targets, 4-5 receptions, 70 yards, just in the air. On the ground, you tell me, what are we looking at? 5-6 carries? Does he get to 10 carries in this one? And we know what he does. Anytime this dude is in space, he's just gone. He is faster than hell, and boom, there he is. Before you know it, he grabs the ball, and bam, he's in the end zone here. So to me, Deebo Samuel, you cannot fade him on the single game slate, even in the overall slate, which I keep bringing up because that's where my mind is here. Deebo Samuel needs to be thought of, needs to be respected, needs to be played in this kind of situation. The guy that's kind of, I don't want to say freaking me out here, but Brandon Ayook, I mean, he was in a great spot last week. I talked about him, I stacked him, and I believe he literally got one target. I don't even think Brandon Ayook caught the ball last week here. So let's try again. Brandon Ayook, 9-5 on FanDuel, only $6,200 on DraftKings. I think we leave what happened last week, and this is a new day. We're talking NFC Championship game. Brandon Ayook, 6 targets, 4-5 receptions, and 60 yards here. So to me, him and Deebo Samuel in the air, they could compete for having identical statistics here. But again, Deebo gets the bump because he carries the ball a ton in this one. So when we talk about the tight ends, there's really no other game in town. It's Tyler Higbee. It's George Kittle. Of the two, yeah, it's George Kittle here. But let's start with Tyler Higbee against Frisco, who's 8th overall against opposing tight ends. Tyler Higbee, 8-5 on FanDuel, $5,200 on DraftKings. Looking at like 5-6 targets maybe. I know 6 is a little outlandish here, but 4 receptions for about 50-60 yards. I've loved the way that McVay has kind of integrated Higbee into the roster on the field, let's say. Matthew Stafford, he's finding him in all these, creative ways on slants and, butt screens behind the line of scrimmage in the red zone here. So to me, Tyler Higbee is very much in play in single game slates here. Kendall Blanton, I won't waste our time. Ross Dwelly, I won't waste our time. Let's talk about George Kittle in LA, who's 10th overall against opposing tight ends here. Kittle, $10,000 on FanDuel, $7,400 on DraftKings. What's weird to me, the first thing that stood out to me all the way on Monday when I was prepping for all this and right in bottom of the barrel is there's such a discrepancy between Travis Kelce's price tag in the single game slate or just overall slate in comparison to George Kittle. Let me rehash my notes here. So on the single game slate here, Travis Kelce is 14 grand on FanDuel, and George Kittle is 10 grand. In the regular overall slate, Kelce $7,700, and George Kittle is only $5,800. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, Travis Kelce is one of, if not the greatest tight ends to ever live, and George Kittle is just a guy here. No, George Kittle is not a jag, not just a guy. This guy, my first thought here was big players show up in big spots. I'm predicting that George Kittle has just an unbelievable game here on Sunday in LA here. How much? We don't know. But to me, I'm looking at 6 or 7 targets in this one. Does he have some game here where he catches all of his targets, 80 yards, some sort of like 40, 50-yard touchdown, has defenders on his back? I have a feeling. I don't know. I mean, I've learned to trust, my gut and all this stuff when it comes to playing DFS, or now that I'm broadcasting and everyone is watching it here. Something's going to happen with George Kittle in this one, and I want to be there for it. So make sure you don't miss out on Kittle, whether he's in the captain spot, which is, I believe, $11,100 on Draftkings. If you're going to build lines, single game lines, make sure at least one has Kittle in the captain spot here. When it comes to the kickers, we're all good. I'm 15 minutes in. I want to keep it moving here. In the defenses, this is a spot I think we can kind of separate ourselves on DraftKings at least. The Rams, $4,600 on DraftKings, 49ers, $4,000 on DraftKings, and you'll understand why. I have both teams for about 3 sacks, both teams with an interception, so to me it boils down to the final score. Last game, I want nothing to do with the defenses, with a massive final score here, but this one, I'm not looking to hurt anybody's feelings. I know a lot of folks, friends of mine, who are San Francisco 49ers fans. Shout out to all of you, right? Michael Huff over at the Fantasy Face-Off, or Chris. She's all the way over in Italy. Two of my most favorite people. They're massive San Francisco fans, and I can only imagine what it would be like to be a Lions fan in the NFC Championship game, and you get some dolt like me going, I don't think they're going to win. I would be furious, but I just don't want people to take it personal. It's all for betting. It's all for DFS. In real life, anything can happen, but I'm paid to do this job, and I'm paid to give you final scores and DFS plays, and I think the Rams win this one. It's going to be lower scoring than we think. I'm thinking around 21 to 17, something along those lines. So that's where that half a point comes in at the beginning of the broadcast. 17 plus 3.5 equals 20.5. So by a half a point here. If the San Francisco 49ers hang 20, then look, you could be a case here where the Rams win and San Francisco covers. So as it stands now, I'd be okay betting on the Rams to win this game. Over under. I'm going under on this one in terms of the point spreads. Frisco plus 3.5, Rams minus 3.5. I'm steering clear of this one. So give me the Rams to win this one, 21 to 17. Before I split, make sure you go to Team Rise or Fall, like, share, subscribe, use promo code, Flash50. You'll get 50% off your first month of premium services. Come hang in the Discord as we're building lineups for all the major sports, an hour leading up to each separate lock time here. So thank you so much. This is it. Championship Sunday is here. The second game of Sunday. Next stop is the Super Bowl, and I can't wait to write and broadcast about it and give it all to you. Thank you so much for all the support this season. Again, there's one more video, one more bottom of the barrel coming up, and a Super Bowl video, so maybe I'll give my Oscar accepted speech, or, I'll save all that nonsense for the next video. But until then, I'll see you around. Enjoy the weekend. Be safe, and we'll talk soon.